G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 16th of October 2025. I'm your host, the author, David Applegate, author of the books The Boyhood of Cade, Power Games, Into the Osbound, and The Erotic Tales from the Empire. Thank you to all those who support the channel. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the links in the link tree or the description below after the show. Alright, so Trump has vowed to end the Ukraine war on his watch. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has spoken on the aspirations of the Trump administration to end this conflict. During a meeting in Brussels, Hegseth vowed that the Ukraine war will end. And has urged Europe to invest in what he says is their wishes, I suppose, to see the conflict end. I think he's talking about time and effort, not money. As you may know, Europe likes to throw money at a problem, but they never really put in the time or effort. Ukraine, of course, wants to use the United States to get what he wants and wants help to go on the offensive in the conflict in Russia. You had every opportunity to make peace and you went on the offensive. You won back some land. You could have stopped the conflict there and only lost a little bit of Ukraine and things would have been over. But you just could not accept even losing a little bit because of your arrogance and ego. And now the United States, of course, is trapped by its European allies into this war. But Europe doesn't seem to want to compromise either. Well, the United States has pretty much made it clear that there will be consequences if Russia continues this war. What's next? Well, right now, come to the peace table. Stop the bloodshed and come to the peace table. Increase spending. Okay. Well, I misunderstood what was said earlier. In the speech, it sounded more like he was talking about time and effort to end this war in an earlier speech. But maybe he did, and I missed it. I'm not going to watch it again. Talk about money. Ukraine has started power rationing after Russian attacks yesterday, with further attacks today. Ukraine's power production and ability to has dramatically decreased. As you know, or should know, Sweden and other countries are pretty much not just purchasing arms. UK is supplying drones. Ukraine is gone. Ukraine has no industry. Everything is now imported. But the focus right now, according to Trump, is getting India to give up Russian oil. Does this to me every time. Throws up ads which have got nothing to do with me. I guess it's because I've been behind an ad blocker for so long. And I know I should turn it back on, but this map seems to... I could use it for a day or two with an ad blocker, but then they catch on and just everything goes haywire. Plus the browser doesn't work properly with the ad blocker on. Everything's attacking the ad blockers these days. Alright, so Kiev was struck by drones and missiles. So was Chernihiv. Sumy area, as well as Polvata, Kharkiv. Now, there was a power cut on the Russian side caused by Ukraine. So, glide bombs, Russia's hit Dnipro? Yeah, Dnipro, Polovad, Kyiv, and Mykolaiv. Yeah, know that there's a stand got spared, but not Kherson. Kherson's got hit with artillery and glide bombs and drones. But as you can see, drones and missiles across Ukraine. They don't tell you the full targets. They don't tell you what was hit. Alright, so there's fighting in pretty much every day. There's fighting in the buffer zone. But it looks like Russia's taken a few blocks here. It's fighting in the north of Kupiansk. Now, most of Kupiansk has fallen to Russia. This on the other side of the river, they're crossed. Not river, sorry. But you can see Russia's taken way more territory today. In the last 24 hours. And they've crossed the canal. Now, on the other side of the canal is not Kupiansk, it's Yelnari. Now, Kupiansk, Russia's holding, Ukraine is holding the Russians back, though they are fighting over the crossroads, and the Russians are coming around the flanks and attacking the Ukrainians also at Salkilya. Now, the Ukrainians for quite some time have been holding them at Petropavlovsk, but they are, and Pashin, is it Pashin? Yeah. But it's coming to an end. Now, the Russians are being held back here, although, the Russians have hit Izum as well. Explosions. Now, new explosions are reported at Izum. Yeah, so update in the conflict. North of Seversk, the Russians, as you can see, they're on the outskirts of Seversk, slowly advancing in other areas. The push towards Lyman. So only a little bit of progress, not much. So the Russians have not made any major progress at Konsk, but in the surrounding areas as well. Same again, no major significant advances. Again, Dobrynin coming under intense fire. No major advances. So most of the map, no major advances, but major advance in Kupiansk and major damage done to parts of Ukraine. Again, this is because the Russians have changed the, what would you call it? It's not predictive algorithm. I'm trying to think of the actual name of it. I suppose you would say it is the flight, that's it, the flight characteristic algorithm. You know, the missiles don't fly in a straight line, and normally air defenses try to predict the path for intercept. Now, one of the problems with Ukraine, of course, is computing power requires lots of electricity, and even with portable generators, they are not keeping up because fuel supplies, power rationing, they cannot maintain their extensive jamming of Russians. Now, again, Europe has been flying in and trying to maintain. But it seems that the fuel war, for now, is hurting Ukraine more than it's hurting Russia. And they are in a fuel war where they are targeting each other's energy grids, and so far Moscow has confirmed they rely on sales of what gas and oil. According to US President, Indian Prime Minister Modi has allegedly assured him that the country will not buy Russian oil. Russia has responded by saying, "We rely on an official statement." Earlier, Indian Foreign Minister stated that Indian authorities were prioritizing their own interests, and so did China. But China went a step further by saying that the US is undermining global supply chains with his demands for countries to stop buying oil from Russia. Well, it's in Russia's... Well, I think ultimately it's in Russia's interest to end this war and stop selling gas and oil 30% cheaper than the rest of the world. It's only hurting their economy, and they could return to 3.5% growth within 12 months after the war's end. But of course, we don't know all the sticking points which are keeping Russia in this war. So until there's more transparency from... Well, we know what Ukraine wants, but what Trump is offering, we should see. We should reserve judgment. That's it. But according to Hungarian Prime Minister, Trump's peace efforts are reasonable, but being hampered by the EU, who are continuing to push Zelensky to continue hostilities and hampering President Donald Trump's mediation efforts. So this is probably why we don't know the talking points between Russia and China. I mean, Russia and America, because there's also Russia-China to consider, Russia-India to consider, and the fact that Europe and Zelensky just sit there with their arms folded, and that's why Trump probably said in his speech the other day, "I don't like some of you. Some of you may know it." Sorry. So I don't like some of you. I'm not going to say who. I think some of you know who you are. I think he was talking about Keir Starmer, right? And Macron. And Merkel. And, well, I know it's not Merkel. It's Merkel 2.0. There's German politicians are all coming out of the same meat grinder of, "Mr. Hubbard, we let France kick us around. We let everybody kick us around. We have no spine." Okay. Is the UK masterminding strikes? Absolutely. They've made no secret of it, that they are helping Ukraine. Directing sabotage, assisting in sabotage, trying to undermine the entire Russian economy, because the British economy is in the toilet. And they see the only way forward is to break Russia so that the UK can and be a hero and say, "Look, we're still a power." Yeah. No. See, the UK is politically divided, right? Between those who want to kowtow to Europe and those who realise that Europe is just using the UK to prop themselves up. What was the UK getting? Okay, paying billions into the EU coffers for what? No return on investment, no security guarantees, dragged into wars, and then have have everything undermined. Because you got because you got France and Germany all wanting to be no, it has to be my victory, This is the problem with federations, is you get a bunch of dickheads, egotistical dickheads, who all want the glory, all want the credit, and just want to use you, like Ukraine. Ukraine was a toxic, and still is a toxic country. Torture, rape, murder. That's just the Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade. And known for its neo-Nazi activities. Ukrainian police have been forced into admitting that in an arrest of a criminal gang involved in abducting, torturing, raping, extorting civilians across Ukraine, turns out they're all soldiers. All linked to the 3rd Assault, who are Zelensky's personal. Okay, this is his militia. These are the brigades that were put together after the Russian invasion, and they were formed out of various militias and were used and did successfully push back the Russians in many areas. But since then, they've been used basically as security forces to keep Ukraine from running away, to keep Ukraine oppressed, to round up other Ukrainians and send them to war. Because, the heroes of the revolution can't be, have to inherit the earth, right? You can't do that unless you get rid of your enemies. Le Monde is saying these are neo-Nazis. This is not exactly friends of Donald Trump. Yeah, from the Azov Regiment, which itself was created in 2014. Even the US investigators. Now, Trump has made an extraordinary claim about countries that want to drop out of BRICS. Russia, I know Russia's in denial right now, but let's face the truth. Brazil, they don't want out. They don't want to. They're not happy. South Africa's not happy. Okay, both expected big things, and it ain't working out. Now, let's face facts. BRICS relied on China and India. And those two have undermined BRICS completely. They expected to use... The whole point behind BRICS was China and India leveraging Russia into war, leveraging to break up the Russian economy, using this war to bleed Russia economically by forcing them to sell them cheap gas, because they knew straight away that would be the first thing sanctioned. Now, remember, BRICS was originally put together by Russia, but China's used it to push BRI, and that has cost Sri Lanka and many other countries, and including Pakistan, their sovereignty. Pakistan and Afghanistan, who were supposed to get along and have a be part of a transcontinental rail link to link up some ports in, and mining and gas and oil and all these other pipelines all in one, all the way back to, China, Vladivostok, Harbin, Vladivostok, Mongolia, Kazakhstan and all that. But all these countries are all fighting over bloody land and oil, and you got various factions, you got destabilized governments. Because these governments and their people are not rooted in solid institutions. They don't believe in the rule of law and the overturning of legitimate overturning of governments through election. They go for coups and, well, in China, in the case, it's not a direct coup, soft coups, soft power all the time. China, Xi Jinping has lost face with the with the collapse of Evergrande and the withdrawal of many, including Warren Buffett, from the Chinese economy, shifting investments to other countries. Pakistan and Afghanistan have had border conflicts. Many of BRICS' allies and friends are fighting for table scraps, and Russia hasn't got the money anymore to buy their loyalty or friendship. South Africa is collapsing. Again, not the sole fault of the Ukraine war. In fact, most of these problems stem from China and the Belt and Road Initiative, so poorly handled, that what the Chinese call total dreg projects, that is, they're poorly managed. Most of the money goes to buying off politicians. Most of the projects are done with poor quality materials, outside labour, often slave labour from North Korea, and North Korea doesn't want anything to do with China, so they don't want anything to do with BRICS. There's a long list of problems, all circulating the drain over China and their beating of countries like Brazil, India and South Africa, who are expected to be equal partners in BRICS. Instead, BRICS has turned into China. You trade with China, you buy Chinese goods, and you have China build your infrastructure. But they say, will you buy any of our goods? China tells you to go to pound sand. So yes, BRICS is in huge trouble right now. Now, if only we had extensive information on the targets and the energy production levels and be able to chart, we would see at least what many speculate, and that is Ukraine can't stand on its own 2 feet as a country, not now, and probably never could under the Soviet Union. Okay? But Ukraine can't stand as an independent country right now as it stands, and they do not have the means to rebuild, and we don't know how much of their energy, gas, they actually came from Russia, or how much they were going to rely on Russia, but they are severely hampered by their past, where they cannot seem to reconcile that they need a change in culture completely, and that Russia has dominated them yet again, that this new Kinzhal, I don't actually know if it's a new Kinzhal or just an update to its current radar evasion software that gives it what they call the flight path characteristic software. Make sure that it can maneuver in flight, which is why it has a reduced range. Now, it's an aeroballistic. It's only hypersonic because it is launched at high speed, so it doesn't have to go through, it doesn't have to burn half its fuel to just accelerate. It's starting from a kinetic position of already travelling at high speed, and being an unmanned vehicle, it can pull tighter turns. Now, Russia seems to be pretty specific that it has hit some air defense systems, not exactly clear. Controlled cabin, launcher. But, yeah. Apparently, Russia has shot down drones and glide bombs and unmanned boats in the Black Sea. Of course, it means, as well as various other battle groups are reporting inflicting heavy casualties. Sorry, I shouldn't say heavy casualties, just casualties in general on the Ukrainians. Not as heavy as other days, but the Russians have, Pelagan, not marked on the map, but they are advancing. So that's 4 towns in 4 days. Apparently this blue area here is Chavis Yar, and Ukraine denies that the Russians. But then again, when you zoom in, it's not all Chavis Yar. It's, again, Chavis Yar is the municipality. So Russia doesn't control Chavis Yar technically because there's forested area and the outskirts of this town remain in Ukrainian control. So Chavis Yar has not been written off. Seversk, the Russians are only at the outskirts. Remember, Ukraine, this is all alignment. Okay. Though some maps only have this green area as alignment. Depends on the maps you look at, of course. And this, I don't think this zooms in any further and gives you the names. But these are all properties between towns, which often happens. You get properties between towns, but according to some maps, you got Stavsky, Stratman, Sharisky, Brzezinski. It's again, because there's a lot of gaps on the Ukraine map. Some of that is because officially they didn't have a name. Unofficially, what's happened is the Ukrainians have taken down the Russian names and they haven't got around to redrawing all the maps. Not a high priority. Also, some of the maps come from China and Ukraine's blotted out I think most of it's because Ukraine's blotted out the Russian names. But supposedly the Russians have made progress in Kupiansk, but there's no new markers. So that's the state of the war as of a few hours ago. Although within the last hour there's been further strikes. On Izium. And they'll probably show up tomorrow as well because, there's always that bit of overlap. But if we zoom out, no successful attacks. Some electronic jamming. Disruption to Russian communications. What else was there? Yeah, usually they'd be attacking Rostov, and well, they did attack yesterday successfully, but Russia's getting better at its air defenses. I know a lot of people say, oh, but look at what happened in Pakistan, Yeah, but also look at India. India used Russian air defenses and were able to, I don't think they shot down an F-16. I think they managed to hit an F-16 with an S-350 and damaged it, whereas Pakistan was using an S-350, theirs came from China and they didn't shoot down anything. So you be the judge, okay? But I'm telling you, that most of the world ain't using Russian air defenses. Most of them, except for Turkey, are using Chinese. It's known that Turkey has authentic, and so did Syria, authentic Russian air defenses. I think, I think there's going to be a big betrayal. I think China and India are going to break up, may decide, drop the mask. I don't know. But I think we're never, ever going to get an admission, probably during Trump's lifetime, what went on, just like Biden, just like Obama. Most of what's happened in Ukraine, we can't talk about on YouTube. Just even actually telling you we can't talk about it on YouTube kills recommendations. People are saying, don't criticize YouTube. They'll cut you down. I'm just saying, right? If you do your time and research, you'll find out horrific things about Ukraine and go, why are we supporting Ukraine? Because the left are hypocrites, okay? The left abandoned Cuba because they wanted a left-wing victory, and now they support Ukraine because they want a left-wing victory, even though both countries are pretty much the same, okay? The left wanted a Castro victory, so they got US to abandon their ally in Cuba. A big mistake. Now, of course, the left want a left-wing victory in Zelensky in Ukraine, so they're willing to put up with all sorts of shenanigans by the Ukraine army, by the organised crime that runs Ukraine. The human trafficking in Ukraine has gotten worse. The corruption has gotten worse. And before we can deal with the corruption in Russia, which I'm not denying, we first have to deal with the corruption in Ukraine. Can't fix other countries if you cannot fix your own. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Please support me on Patreon. I have two, one for my writing and one for my RPG based on my writing. And of course, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, description below, in my profile, or scan the QR code on screen. Appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.